Good evening and welcome to Daily Red Devil for all of your latest Manchester United transfer news and talk. I hope everyone's doing well on this Tuesday evening. We're back with another massive show to bring you guys tonight. But before we jump into that, please smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and let's get straight on into it. On the show this evening, we are going to be talking and reacting to the news that broke about an hour ago that apparently Jim Ratcliffe's 25% stake in Manchester United has now been confirmed by the Premier League. So we'll be talking about that. We'll also be talking about a potential swap deal, Aaron Wan-Bissaka for Michael Olise. Obviously, I'll be giving you my thoughts on that one. Also talking a little bit about some players who apparently are waiting for new contracts at Manchester United, with a story breaking earlier on today that apparently Manchester United are reluctant to give out new contracts, and also talking about the director of football role, with Manchester United apparently stepping up their pursuit of Dan Ashworth for the sporting director role at Manchester United. As always, guys, I invite you to get involved in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts on all things Manchester United. I'd love to see what you guys have to say. So get in the comment section and let me know. Your thoughts. Right, so let's start off with the director of football then, shall we? So, a couple of different people have come out with stories about this today, but this one's the most notable. It says, Man United are now stepping up their pursuit of Dan Ashworth for the sporting director role. This is coming from Alex Crook, who is, of course, a journalist for TalkSport, as well as a couple of other things. Then a couple of other journalists in the UK came out with similar stories earlier on today, saying that, Dan Ashworth's the number one target. Newcastle are reluctant to let him go, but the pull of Manchester United would be very difficult to reject. Another journalist come out in the last hour saying that he understands that Manchester United are now ready to push ahead with their plans to lure Newcastle United's Dan Ashworth to Old Trafford. So, yeah, it looks like Dan Ashworth will hopefully become the new director of football. I'm excited about that. I think he's got a good track record. I think he knows the Premier League well. We know for a fact that Jim Ratcliffe has been very interested in getting him involved with different sporting projects for quite some time. So, the only thing we do need to consider, though, as well, is apparently Liverpool are looking for a new sporting director as well. So apparently he's high up on Liverpool's list as well. So we've got to be cautious of that. Now, for anybody who's unaware of some of the names that Dan Ashworth signed, I'll run through them really, really quickly for you. He brought in people like Trossard to Brighton, obviously before he went to Arsenal. He brought in Lamptey, who's a really good player. He brought in Moises Caicedo for only 4 million and then sold him to Chelsea for 115. He brought in Matoma for only 2.5 million, who's again a quality player. Cucurella, who obviously hasn't done that well at Chelsea, but who did really, really well at Brighton. Obviously, he brought in Alexander Isak at Newcastle, Anthony Gordon at Newcastle, Botman, Nick Pope, Livramento. He's brought in some really good players, and they've been, let's say, slightly less trendy names, most of them, which I quite like about him. I think we need to bring in players who maybe none of us have heard of. I'd love us to sign somebody from the Japanese league, or be signing somebody from the Ecuadorian league or the Colombian league, or bringing in this young, youthful players to complement our already youthful side. The Kobe Mainus, the Rasmus Højlunds, the Garnachos. And I think that Dan Ashworth is the right person to do that. Let's see what else. Welcome everyone who's just joined the video, by the way. If you have just joined, make sure to smash a like. Let's try and get 200 likes on this evening's video. So do like the video if you haven't yet already. Malp says it's time for Luke Shaw to go. He's injury prone and unreliable. It's not his fault though. I hear you, mate. I do. I think Luke Shaw is a quality player on his day, but his injury record is a worry. I don't think we get rid of him at this stage. I think you keep Luke Shaw, but I think you need to, bring in some reinforcements in that area. For me personally, I would let Wan-Bissaka go. Bring in Frimpong. Obviously, Frimpong's a right back. So you have Dalot and Frimpong as your two right backs, and then you have Luke Shaw, Malacia, and obviously Dalot can also play at left back as well. So you've got 2 options at right back and 3 options at left back. So that's what I would do personally. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Malp says, my dream summer would be Alphonso Davies and Jeremy Frimpong. Yeah, I mean, that would be quality, mate. That would be absolutely quality. And it would completely revolutionise our team if we could have Alphonso Davies and Jeremy Frimpong. Do I think that will happen? Probably not personally. Obviously, Jeremy Frimpong has a 40 million release clause. So I think that's realistic. Whereas Alphonso Davies, as far as I'm aware, doesn't have a release clause, but he does only have 1 year left of his contract. So I think with Alphonso, he will probably be sold in the summer. But it will probably be for quite a lot of money. I would imagine probably 50 to 60 million would be the kind of fee you're looking at for Alphonso Davies. But I would agree with you, if you could get Alphonso Davies and Jeremy Frimpong's release clause is £35 million. If you could get Alphonso Davies for, say, 50, that's £85 million, and our defence is looking quality then. If you had those two, as well as someone like Todibo, that is a really, really good defence. And I would even say that, if your defence was Martinez, Todibo, Alphonso Davies and Jeremy Frimpong, I genuinely think that's a defence that could compete for the title. I'm not even trying to over-egg the pudding here. I think that's a quality defence, especially if you still had people on the books like Luke Shaw, Varane stayed. If you had all of these other people there still as options, as backups, that would be a world-class defence, and it would completely revolutionise the way we play football. So, yeah, in short, if we could get Alphonso Davies and Jeremy Frimpong, I would be very, very excited about that. Let's see what else people... Listen says, I would like to see Florian Wirtz at Man United in replacement for Bruno. Fair enough. William says, why do you keep slagging Amrabat when you know he has been played out of position in a garbage team? But mate, I was the biggest supporter of Amrabat in the summer. Anybody who's watched this show, for the last 6 or so months, knew how excited I was about Amrabat. So for me to have changed my tone on Amrabat is a big thing. I just don't think he's good enough. Do you really think Amrabat's better than Kobe Mainoo? Genuinely. Do you think Amrabat's better than Casemiro? No, he's not. Those two should be our first choice options, Casemiro and Kobe Mainoo. And for me personally, why would you give Fiorentina another, I think, 20 million euros for Amrabat? He's just simply not good enough, I don't think. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he is good enough. But for me personally, Amrabat is not a world-class midfielder. He's not someone who's going to win you the Premier League. He's, I think, 28, or is he 29 now? Let's have a look. Amrabat. Yeah, he's 28. As a backup, yeah, great. But we've still got to give him another 20 million euros. Are you genuinely telling me, right? Say our summer budget is 100 million. You're genuinely telling me that you want to spend a fifth of our summer budget on Amrabat. We still have to pay Fiorentina the money. We haven't paid them anything yet. I think we paid them a loan fee of about 9 million, and they want another 20 million if we want him permanently. I would much rather go and spend that money somewhere else than on Amrabat, personally, because Eriksen's not going anywhere. I think he's got 1 year left of his contract. They won't be able to get rid of him. Mason Mount can play in midfield. Bruno plays in midfield. Kobe Mainoo plays in midfield. Casemiro plays in midfield. We've got 5, 6, 7 midfielders already. And to spend another 20 million on Amrabat would make absolutely zero sense for me personally. But maybe you guys disagree. I appreciate that, he's been used in a weakened side, but for me, it's a definite no. Stephanie says, I would love to see Barella at Manchester United, but it's an unlikely signing. Yeah, really, really like him. Really, really like him. Fred says, do you feel transfer targets will be coming with Sir Jim Ratcliffe in charge? It depends, mate. It depends. If we've got Champions League football, I think we'll be able to attract some of the best names. If we don't, then I think we'll struggle. But you know what? I don't think we need to attract the best names. I think we need to be looking at realistic people. I think Jean-Claire Todibo would come without Champions League football. I don't know whether Frimpong would and Alphonso Davies would, to be fair. But yeah. And then William is replying to me saying, Amrabat would thrive in this team. Casemiro is done, apparently. And Eriksen is deadwood. Yeah, I agree that Eriksen is deadwood, mate. I do. But no one's going to buy him. So we're stuck with him for another year until his contract expires. That's the black and white of it. And I don't think Casemiro's done. That's just... How can you say Casemiro is done, but say that Amrabat deserves to stay? What is that based off? I don't get it. I don't see the comparison. What are you basing that information off? Casemiro is clearly not done. He's definitely a very, very good centre midfielder. Amrabat, I think he's average. I don't think he's rubbish. I think he's a good squad player, but do I want to pay another 20 million for a squad player when we've already got loads of squad players that we need to get rid of? For me personally, no. Look at our midfield options, right? Casemiro, Mason Mount, Fernandes, Eriksen, McTominay, Mainoo. You've got 5 or 6 midfielders already in that position. And then you've also got people like Donny van der Beek and Hannibal as well. So, if you add all of those people together, we've got about 6, maybe more. If you add the people who are out on loan, we've got 8 midfielders for 2 positions. And Amrabat would make it 9. So Yeah, that's my position on him. Urban says, Kieran, as we know, Ineos has nothing to do with United. If 5th place gives us Champions League football, can we play in the same league with Nice? I think so, mate. Yeah, I think that was kind of cleared up. Yeah, I think that was kind of cleared up, to be honest. Antor says Casemiro is world class. Yeah, I really like Casemiro. I think he's a quality player. But as I've said to you guys before, I think if a massive offer comes in for Casemiro, we're talking like £80 million, more than what we paid for him. Yeah. Then you have to take it because we're in a financial mess. There's a big difference between wanting somebody to leave because they're not good enough and wanting someone to leave because we're in a financial mess. Casemiro is probably, if not our best player, realistically. Think about it logically. I know Kobe Mainoo everyone's excited about, but Varane, Casemiro, like those two are world-class players on their day. But paying them 350 grand a week when we might not even be in the Champions League is not feasible. Just think of it like this. Casemiro was playing for Real Madrid, winning La Ligas, winning Champions Leagues, and he was on about 200 grand a week. He asked for a pay rise, they said no, and then he left. He came to Manchester United and we're paying him 350 grand a week. So, and that 350 grand a week was when we were in the Champions League. It was based on us actually competing for things. If we go into next season with no Champions League football and we're in the Europa League and we're already in a financial mess, can we really afford to be paying, salaries of 350, 340 grand a week for people like Casemiro and Varane? We simply can't. And that's the black and white of it. Yeah, that's my opinion anyway. Maybe I'm wrong. Stephanie says Manchester United have too many unused squad players. Yeah. Irfan has put his dream transfer window in the comments section. So he would like Martinez, Victor Osimhen, Boniface, Ollie Watkins, Ibrahim Sangare, Nicolo Barella or Estupinan. Yeah, I really like all of that. I do. Some really, really good people there. What else have we got? Everyone who's just joined, don't forget to smash a like on the video if you haven't already, by the way. Let's see what else people are saying. Lissen says he would like to sign Todibo, Tapsoba, Frimpong and Wirtz. I'm into that. I mean, that's a proper Bundesliga target list, isn't it? All of those are Bundesliga players apart from Todibo, I think. Lumen says, Kieran, why does Casemiro's wage bother you more than Rashford does? I'm just having a look at what Rashford's wage is. Give me a second. Marcus Rashford's on 300 grand a week. Casemiro's on 350 grand a week. Why does Casemiro's wage bother me more than Rashford's? Rashford's 25. He's still got resale value. He still can be around for a long time. Casemiro is, I think, 31 this year. I think he's got maybe 1 year left of his contract. Let me double check how long his contract is. It might be 2 years. The thing that I'm trying to get across here is we need to make sure we get some money back for Casemiro at some point. So his contract is until 2026. He's got 2 years left of his deal. Look, honestly, if our budget was say 100 million this summer, plus player sales, Casemiro would be pretty low down on my list of players that I wanted to sell. I would get rid of Maguire, McTominay, Eriksen, probably Hannibal, probably Pellistri. Like, not because they're not good, but just because I would rather get rid of players who I don't think are players who are surplus to requirements ultimately, and keep people like Casemiro and Varane. If that allowed us to do that, I would much rather do that. I'd much rather get rid of some of these fringe players like Jadon Sancho, Donny van de Beek. Obviously, Martial goes. I would be happy with that if Maguire, McTominay, Donny van de Beek, Sancho, Lindelof, maybe Pellistri, Greenwood. The 7 or 10 players I could think of who I'd want to leave before Varane and Casemiro do. The only reason I'm bringing this up is we know there's a genuine interest in Casemiro and Varane in the Saudi League. And we know that they'll pay them more than 350 grand a week. Whereas no one's going to match Maguire's wages of 200 grand a week. No one's going to match Jadon Sancho's wages of 350 grand a week. That's why we're having to probably sell our better players, because no one's going to give the other players the money they want. See what else people are saying. Lumen says, isn't Rashford getting 375 grand a week? I mean, the information that I've got in front of me here says that Rashford's on 300. But I think he has, extensions and add-ons in his contract. Obviously, I'm not a lawyer. I can't see Marcus Rashford's contract. I can only see what's available publicly on the internet. Malp says, if we don't get Champions League football, we won't be able to make any big signings. The thing is, though, mate, I'm not sure if we need to make quote-unquote quality signings. Well, obviously we do. That's a stupid thing to say, but I think we need to make clever signings. I think we need to spend 100 million, but maybe buy 5 or 6 players. That's what we need to do. I think, us going out and spending 80 million on one player is probably not the best course of action for this next window, because there are so many people that need to go and so many positions that need to be filled that we need to be a lot more sensible with our money. Willan says Rashford could be on 50 grand and his football would not justify that. But no, we are facing his agent here. You genuinely don't think that Rashford is worth 50 grand a week? I mean, that's just... Come on, that's just silly. I know Rashford hasn't been amazing this season, but he is a good footballer. He is. He is a good footballer. That's just... Come on. Yeah, I mean, that's just silly. Anyway, let's move on to this Wan-Bissaka story. So the story coming out this afternoon is that apparently United are going to try and do a swap deal of Wan-Bissaka in exchange for Olise. I think that would be good. I think Olise would be quality. Apparently Olise is a Man United fan. Apparently he really wants to come to Manchester United. But apparently Chelsea and Man City are also interested in Olise. Now, the really, really interesting thing about Olise is he has a release clause. Obviously, a release clause makes a transfer way more easier. He had a release clause of 35 million in the summer. Now his release clause is apparently around 50 million. I think 50 million would be fair, especially if, you get maybe 15 to 30 million for Wan-Bissaka, meaning that you're really only paying 30. You're not going to pay much for Olise if you're getting some money back from Crystal Palace for Wan-Bissaka. So for me, it would be a really, really good signing. I would love to see Olise at Man United. I think he'd be quality. He's exactly the right profile to what we want. I know there's some question marks about his injury record. Let's have a quick look how many games he's missed this season. So Olise has missed 13 games this season with a hamstring injury. He missed 2 games last season and one game the season before. So I don't think it's fair to say he's an injury-prone player, 13 games this season is obviously a bit of a worry, but when you look at people like Luke Shaw, you look at people like Martial, they're injured 20 games every season. 13 games in one season might just be an unfortunate, error. Obviously last season only 2 and the season before that only 1. I think, to call him injury-prone is a little bit premature. But let me know in the comments section, guys. Would you like to see Olise at Man United? And would you be happy if Wan-Bissaka went the other way? Irvin says, do you think we'll receive any offers for Rashford? I honestly would not be surprised if Mbappe goes to Real Madrid and then PSG come in for Rashford. I wouldn't be surprised at all. I think that genuinely could happen. Obviously, we know that that PSG were interested in Rashford a little while ago, weren't they? So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that one. But yeah. Would Marcus Rashford leave Man United? Maybe. Who knows? Big ups to Fred, who has just gifted 5 memberships to the Daily Red Devil community member section. Thank you so much, my friend. I really, really support. I really appreciate your support. If you have just got a membership from Fred, make sure you say thank you to him. Really, really appreciate that, mate. I really do. Peter says Olise could be a good signing. Yeah, I think he would, mate. I do. I would like to see him at Man United. And the final story we've got for you guys this evening is on Jim Ratcliffe. The 25% stake has apparently now been confirmed by the Premier League, which is good. It means we can start moving forward. We can start focusing on the director of football, start focusing on the head of recruitment, start focusing on the summer. And I'm excited about it. I really, really am. I know, for anybody who's been watching the show for a long time, Jim Ratcliffe wasn't my preferred option, but we are where we are. And you've just got to get on with it. You've got to be positive. You've got to get behind the man. You've got to back him. And you've got to hold judgment for a few years, If he makes 1 or 2 mistakes in the first kind of 6 months, as long as it's not anything terrible, you just have to, obviously acknowledge it. You can talk about it, but you've got to give him time before we start really criticizing him. So yeah, that's my take on it. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I'm going to wrap the video up here, guys. It's been a really, really good show today. Thank you so much to everyone who has joined me on the show this evening. I will be back tomorrow morning as usual at 11 a.m. UK time. If you have enjoyed tonight's show, please smash a like before you go. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'll speak to you all tomorrow.